Hey guys, how are you? Good morning, America. We are 7 minutes into Huddle time with Ronit. Yeah, so we're trying a new software today to go on live. We've been working with a whole different software before, and let me tell you, to learn how to produce this show has been an awesome learning experience. But it's completely new. So to begin with, I've never really done Facebook Live, and now I'm doing Facebook Live. And then so we tried a couple of great software, and believe me, we have done, my tech guy, Bill, who is a ghost still to you, because you guys never seen him, has been researching all this amazing software to streamline everybody into it. So we're learning a lot. Hey, Anna, I look beautiful? Thank you. Seriously, that's the most important thing. So hold on. Let me put these on. What do you think about this? Is it better? Anyway, so hey, Bill, how's it going? So good. Good morning, Andy. So good to see you. So good to see you guys. I miss you. It's only been one day, I know. But I kind of starting to like what we're doing here because it's repetition. It's repetition, and we're learning so much about it. And the very first Facebook Live, and the second and the third and the fourth, I was so nervous. But now I'm not so nervous because you know what? It's streaming. So whatever happens is unpredictable. It's uncertain in this uncertain world of what's going on with Facebook Live and streaming. How are you guys? So I'm waiting to hear from you guys to see how you are. Give me thumbs up. You're here. You can hear me well. Can you see me well? I just want to make sure because today we have extraordinary guests that I'm so excited to bring on. I'm not going to tell you who is it, but probably you all know. But before that, I want to talk about a few things. So let me know how you guys are doing. Give me thumbs up. Is the sound good? Are we good? Where are you guys from 1 till 10? Where are you today? Are you a 2? Are you a 3? Are you a 9? Are we a 7? Some of you are still at home in quarantine. I wonder, what have you been growing in your home? Have you have a new vegetable garden? Some new flowers? Hey, Kimberly, how are you? Good morning. Yeah. So some of you might have been growing some stuff. I don't know what you've been doing, but share with us. Let us know how you guys are doing. Do you guys have any good questions for us today? Because we have a lot of great answers. As my friend will say, the answer is in the question, right? So it's really important. Hi, Amy. You're an 8. So good to see it. I wonder how you pronounce this. Is this Ruscio? Bill, what do you think this is? Is it Ruscio?
Maybe Rocco.
Is it Rocco? No.
No. Okay.
No. Okay. So yeah, we need a little testing with that sound. What do you think? 7. We're gonna get you to a 9 today, okay? And if I can get you to 10, I'm gonna do that as well. Good morning, Armand. So good to see. Oh my God, you're a 10. I'm like, get over here, come to Seattle, join me, and share why you're a 10. Let me know why you're a 10, because I love that. I don't have a lot of work to do anymore. So this is great. So good to see you guys. Happy Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. It's a week before my birthday. I'm turning 23 again in exactly almost a week. So I'm excited about that. What else is new? Give me something here. I'll tell you what's new. A lot of people are going back to work, so that's good. They're opening a very soft opening. Some are going all in. Some are going slowly, and some has as different dates: July 1st, August 1st. You know, so there's a lot of unease about it, but there's a lot of certain things, which is much better than before, where we didn't have a lot of certain things. So I think it's okay, right? It's okay. Now, I want to tell you that over the few past couple of weeks, some of our clients are going back, and we spoke a lot of stylists and spoke a lot of manufacturing brands, and we're talking all the time about this. And what I hear is that going back is like better than Christmas, much better than Christmas. So what does that mean? Well, that there were challenges and people were thinking about, am I going to make the same amount of money? Is it going to be crazy? So there's going to be a lot of talks about it today. And I want to tell you that a lot of people are not only creating the same revenue, but even better and more. So I love that because I want you to think about it. I don't want it that Christmas is only going to be 1 month in a year. I want it every month. And that's what we're going to do here in the show. And for the next few weeks, the next few months, we're going to make sure that Christmas is every month. Maybe 1 month we're not going to have Christmas so we can appreciate all the other 11 months. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Oh, thank you, Bill. I know. Yeah, you know, May comes every year and another year goes by. And so it's good. How are you doing, Bill? Awesome. So I want to talk about a couple of things today because I have a very special guest, Jay Williams. And we're going to be speaking a lot about how you can shift your thinking, you know, all about the thought that we have. Mia, you're better. So good. So where are you, Mia? Are you a 7, an 8? Give me thumbs up because I know I'm going to bring it up. Hi, Kimberly. I want to talk about something that is really important. How do we develop confidence in what we do? How do we develop confidence in our decisions? How do we develop confidence in our opinion? Right? Because that's something very important. And if we think about it, confidence is an emotional thing, right? We feel confidence, we feel powerful, or we don't feel so powerful, or we just, I don't know, I'm not so sure, or yes, I know, I want to do it. So there's just a lot of feeling goes behind it. And before that, there's something that starts it all. Omaha, Nebraska, cool. Oh my God, I was there in last July. I was driving by there. It was such a great trip that we took, my husband and I and the doggies. And I love the scenery when we drove by. It's so beautiful. All the rolling farms. It's awesome. Mia, you're 8. Well, I love it. That's good, right? So before all of this emotional and confidence, right? Because if we want to have a confidence, because we are the upfront of our company. Clients come in, guests come in, and guests go out. We go in, staff goes in. So we would love to have that confidence that what we're doing is great and what we're doing is right. And we're keeping everybody safe and we're keeping ourselves safe. But more than anything, we feel powerful. We feel confident about all of that. And so confident takes practice, just like everything else. You can't just develop that, you know, on a regular basis and say, okay, I was born with a confidence. Or maybe we can. I don't know. But we're going to ask Jay about that. So a couple of things that comes to my mind. The powerful of questions, the power behind the questions is something that I want you to think about, because it's the question that promote thinking, and thinking can promote shifting, moving, bringing you into actions. And that's what I want to discuss all of our time together today. Anybody has any question? Because any question is a powerful question today. And there's a couple of them that came up through the past few days that I would love to answer today. Yeah? Hey, Chicago. Hey, Jessica. It's good to see you. All right. So let's start with our special guest today. Hi. Yes. Okay. I am bringing in today And I'm so excited, beyond excited and thrilled to bring Jay Williams today on our show. He's really a powerful force in the authority of keeping you thinking and shifting your mind to create this unbelievable communication that you need to communicate. Now, Jay brings a forward thinking approach to the business of client satisfaction. How do you create happiness? How do you create happiness within your staff? How do you create happiness within your environment that you are? Jay has wrote and authored many books. He's a keynote speaker. He works with many of our leaders in our industry and other industry. He helps so many executives. He helps a lot of stylists. He helps a lot of salon owners bridge between doubt and no doubt. He bridges between questions to answers, and he does it in such a unique way of making you think and operate differently. And today, that's what we need. We need to think differently. Now, according to Jay Williams, who wrote the book Leave Your Mark, 8 out of 10 guests who chose to leave your salon, they do so for a reason that is something you might not think about because you're not thinking about that. And 80% of people are really falling short in their current rules due to the lack of interpersonal skills. And his book shows you how you can connect and leave your mark on your clients, on your guests, and your mark with your staff. So without further ado, I would love to bring Jay into, and bear with me, this is a new software. Here we go. Awesome. Hey, Jay, good morning.
I'm here.
Hi.
Yes.
How are you, Jay? How you doing today?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling pretty close. I may even be an 11 based on my time with you and the conversations. I think maybe 11.
Oh,
Yes.
I like 11. That's a good place to start, right? At 11, I mean, like, you can't even finish better than that. So 11 is good.
Well, we'll see. I'm putting the pressure on you.
Oh my
See,
God.
when I'm at a restaurant, I tip the person ahead of time. I go, "Here's your tip."
Do you really?
And it's yours to lose. Sure. So
Oh my God.
yeah, that way they have to earn it. So for you, I'm an 11 and you'll just have to keep me at 11 or take me to a 12.
That's an interesting concept. I like that. So what happens to that waiter when he gets his tip first? What's the reaction?
Well, you mean he or she. We
He
have
or
to be
she.
politically correct. I'm sorry, they or them. Yeah, to be
They or
politically
them.
correct. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. It shifts their thinking because now they know what they're working for. And so,
Wow.
yeah, I'd encourage you to try it, see how it works out for you.
Oh, guys, I think this is fantastic. I love it already. It's like putting the pressure of delivering to their standards. So that's nice.
There you go.
Yeah. So Jay, how are you? What are you doing these days? You're at home. I can see, like all of us. Tell us, you're in Philadelphia.
I am. I live outside of Philadelphia in an area called Bucks County. So I always tell people I'm from California, but I live in Philadelphia just to make the distinction. So I'm doing good. Someone asked me the other day, they said, "What's going on?" I said, "Everything and nothing." I will tell you, I have been the busiest I think I've been in the last few years. And I just kind of an interesting story is that about 5 weeks ago when this happened, I think a lot of us can relate to it. So whether your business closed or your clients called and said, "Hey, we're going to have to cancel." So they were nice enough, Ronit, not to only cancel the next event, but for the rest of the year. So I didn't have to worry if I was going to be traveling. So I found this newfound freedom in my schedule. Let's put it that way. And, I thought, it doesn't seem like the time, and I'm talking 5 weeks ago, to ask people for money for what I do. And so I made a decision. I can't even tell you it was a conscious decision as it just kind of evolved, that I want to be part of the solution. And the risk I run, if I'm only going to be able to do that through money, that I wouldn't be part of it. So I made a decision to do pro bono work for the next 90 days. And so I share it with you because it's been a tremendous gift. In the last 5 weeks, this will be my 54th Zoom or FaceTime live.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it with manufacturers, I've done it with
Mm-hmm.
distributors, I've done it with associations, I've done it with salons and salon
Mm-hmm.
teams and salon owners. And so it's given me this tremendous insight into what people are thinking and what they are feeling. And I'm hearing the behaviors and I'm seeing very performance, which I understand. And
Yeah.
so it's certainly given me a compassion and understanding. It's certainly developed for me a filter in which to see things, which
Yeah.
is not to judge. I'm not
Yeah.
here to judge, I'm here
Yeah.
to help.
Yeah.
And so I've been busy.
Yeah. I
I
think
haven't
we've
made
been.
any money, but I've been very, very busy. I don't know if anybody can relate to any of that, but very
Yeah.
busy, haven't made
Oh
any
my
money.
God. Well, I love that. It's so funny. The first time we spoke was about your pro bono work. And I mean, not the first time. I think it was the second time we talked about it when we met for the first time. We met kind of like through Facebook. Like you don't know that about you, but I've seen you a few times. I listened to your talks. I listen to your conversation. I read your post, your content, and it always spoke to me. And your energy and your demeanor and the way you deliver your words have always spoke to me. And you don't know this about me, but I confessed. Became very vulnerable one of these chapters, and I said, I'm from Israel. So I learned English, I learned French, I'm a Hebrew, so Israeli, this is what I speak. And when I came to this country, it wasn't about the language because, as an Israeli, you have to know English, you have to know a third language. So, hello, I know three languages. They might not be all perfect, because Ronit has her own Ronit English, but it wasn't about really then at that time about the language. It was the culture of how you deliver those words. What do you use those words for? And that took me a long time to learn in this country. And I felt very unconfident. And I felt like I'm very confident, but a lot of time it was a lot of fake. It was like I'm not so confident. I was scared to speak. Some people even use the terminology. I remember this couple of times. It's a language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like that terminology of language barrier. It was almost like a prejudgment of like a language barrier. No, it wasn't. It was just a way of how you say things. It doesn't matter what language you're talking about. And so when I listen to you and when I speak to you over this past few weeks, there is something so magical about the way you say things that all I want to do is sit down and learn from you. Now, you've been doing many keynote speaking. You've been working with many leaders. You've been working as a coach for a transformational coach. I'd love to know more about that. What is your transformational process, or how do you help owners and business owners and leaders in the community and stylists to do better? Because it's pretty remarkable of transformation that you have done for me in the past few weeks.
Well, you're boosting my confidence. Thank you. I want to tell you that. And if it makes you feel better, I only speak one language, and it's taken me a really long time to get to this point. So it is intentional. There is power in words. And I think that's one of the things, just to speak to what you said, is that I learned early on is that words carry a lot of weight with them. And so I appreciate you acknowledging it. I will tell you it's a skill. It's something that you work at and you're intentional with. The work with the leaders, though, is that here's what I would share with you. And for anybody who's a leader out there, and by leader, I don't mean by title, I just mean that there are people following you. So if you're a stylist and you have a book of business, or you're a mom, or you're a dad, or you're a leader as a basketball coach, or actually physically owning a business, when I say leader, that's who I'm referencing, is that there's not a lack of knowledge, Ronit, these days. You can literally Google anything. I think if you have a gift as a leader, it's to help with new and different and deeper thinking. Because what I find is that most people know the disconnect is the doing. And so, to answer your question specifically, where do I focus? Is bridging the gap between knowing and doing. So, bridging the gap between common sense and common practice.
Ooh, powerful. I love that. What does power, what common sense? I get that, and I know we all get that, but maybe we don't. Maybe we think we do. But common practice, I just think that's just magical. What does that mean?
Well, just to give you a little background on common sense, is that originated in the 1700s. And there's a misconception. Common sense, when we say it, is that everybody would know it. The reference is that the common person, whether they're educated or working or not, would have access to this information. So it's not that everyone knows, but we operate off the premise that should be common sense. They should know. So one is knowing. Common practice is doing. So that this is how you function as an organization. So whether it's through your process, your procedure, through your people, through your values, that there's a commonality, there's a predictability to how you show up and how you function.
Yeah.
There's a common practice to it. And then if you're effective as a leader, and this is one of the barometers, it's how often it's replicated and how well it's replicated in your culture, these common practices.
Yes. And so when you say common practices and how you perceive it, is that something that is common? When it comes to my mind, it means it's simple, it's not complicated, it's just a practice. And if you're in the practice, you're actually in the doing. And if you're in the doing, that means that you are moving forward. Is that what it means?
Yeah, I think you articulated it well. I mean, probably an easy example would be yoga. It's hard in the beginning. Through practice and the replicating the moves and the thinking, it becomes habit and becomes a common practice. And so I don't even know why I'm using that analogy, because I don't do yoga, for anybody who doesn't. However, I do have a yoga channel on my TV, and while I'm on my computer, I watch vicariously.
You had plenty of time to practice yoga, Jay. Plenty of time right now. Maybe we should start.
Doubt that. That's the difference between common sense, that I should be doing it, and common practice, me not doing it. And so I just share with you, to your point, is that the common sense translates to common practice, is that when you do this, and maybe you even do it to the frequency that you don't have to think about it, and it becomes a habit, because that's really what a habit is that it really requires less thought to do this function. That's really what a habit is.
Yeah. You said the other day, you said something to me that, you said so many things to me, and I love
anything you can repeat or no?
Oh yeah, I am going to repeat a lot of stuff. I'm gonna steal some of your stuff and
please do. It's the ultimate compliment. Ultimate compliment. Steal away.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna just basically just use it, and I'm gonna make it Ronit's language, right? So now you get a different flavor to it. So now we talked about something, and it resonates with me when you said that. So you talked about cultures. I ask you, how do you work with people? How do you use your philosophy? And how do you work with people to help them and bridge that common sense to the common of doing? And so you said it's a transformation, and I help transform that part. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he helps transform. Now and you spoke about cultures, 3 cultures that you work with. You spoke about the culture that you work as an executive site. You spoke about the culture that works as an owner of a business, which is a whole different culture as we know it. You spoke about it as a stylist perspective, because we talked about what we all go through right now and the fear and everything that goes on with that. You spoke about, an eye of staff member. So there's 3 cultures that you were speaking about, but the 4th cultures that you haven't mentioned, which I would love to come up, is that you own your own company. That's a 4th culture. That's your culture. What got you to this point where you can teach this now? You can mentor that. You can help that. What started this whole process for you? Because you certainly know those 4 cultures.
Whew, that's a loaded question. So let me break it down this way, because I want to make sure that I got everything. And I was taking notes there. Is that here's what helped me. So my career started out really in a unprecedented kind of way. I grew up in Los Angeles. In 11th grade, I moved out of my home, left high school, and moved to San Diego. And so got a great life lesson. I went from a size 34 waist to a size 29 waist in 6 months.
Wow.
So the upside to not having money, it's a great
Mhm.
weight loss program. So if anybody's wondering about a new way, yeah, just don't have money to eat. So in the process, I ended up getting a job really quite by accident. And where I got a job was in a men's clothing store. They were called haberdasheries back in the day. And they're the size of a salon today, maybe, maybe 2,400, 3,000 square feet, maybe. But a man would shop there his entire life. And so it was the type of environment where for Bill, you would call me up and you'd say, "Hey, Jay, it's going to be Bill's birthday." And I'd say, "You know what, Ronit? I picked out a sport coat for him. It's a 42 long, 32 waist, 34 length. I got a 16 shirt with a 34, 35 sleeve." You go, "Jay, I love it. Can you add a sweater to that?" And you would purchase it. And people had these little books, your book of business. I failed miserably. One of the
Wow.
reasons I shared with you that I had that period of time that I lost weight is we were on 100% commission there. We got 10% of what we sold. But inherently, my thinking, there was a contradiction that was there because I had never spent over $10 at that point on a shirt. And I remember it was when I did, it was May Company in Southern California. They had a 1-day sale. It was an Ocean Pacific OP for the people who are old enough, a yellow shirt, brown ocean scene, wooden buttons. And I paid the difference because my mom couldn't afford the whole thing to get the shirt. So when we were selling, and this is 30 some odd years ago, a $30 shirt, it was counterintuitive to my thinking and it was stopping me. And so at
Yes.
a very early age, I stumbled across the fact that my thinking affects my emotions towards things and certainly my behavior and performance. And so I'll start there. And, the career had a path of its own that led me to different positions. And the commonality that I saw, if I was going to add value, if I was going to leave my mark, if I was going to make a difference as a leader, as an executive, even as a facilitator, was helping people to shift their thinking. Because if we could shift their thinking, it would shift their emotions. And
Got it.
so some of the people listening might recognize this in psychology as cognitive behavioral based therapy.
Yes.
And it was just amazing about 11 years ago when I stumbled across this that we weren't applying it to everything we do. So to answer your question about where it started, probably as young as that. Not that I could articulate it, but when I think back, that's when my performance improved dramatically, by the way. Dramatically was when I shifted my thinking. And then to come across this as a framework, and regardless of the culture, so whether it's the client culture, whether it's the employee culture, whether it's the stylist culture, the owner, leader, manager culture, the executive culture, this frame is congruent. As long as you're a human being, this is relevant to you.
I, and I love that you said that because it's so relevant. The personal shopper is a concept that is so needed right now more than ever. I think in my mind more and more, and how to become more personal in a almost like in a culture now that we're not so huggy. We can't do that touching base. I was thinking about it in the Japanese culture. They're so kind. They're so generous. And yet they don't hug. They don't kiss. They speak with their eyes. They speak with respect. So there's a lot of nodding. There's a lot of that culture that comes. With us, we hug. The first thing we want to do when we see our clients, all we want to do is just hug them. They would want to hug them. And now we can't do this, right? We have to be very conscious about that. So one of the questions that came through, Jay, I love those glasses.
Thank
Look
you.
at that.
It makes me smarter.
That shifted my thinking
I'm
right
changing
now.
my thinking. Yeah, I felt a little pressure. It's like, wow, she looks good. Maybe I have some other props. Yeah.
That was a lot of confidence to come up with those bold glasses. It took me about 3 sessions to get there, but I'm there.
It works.
So,
It works for you. Yes.
So one of the questions that came out this past 2 weeks, this is something that is rising up a lot right now, is there's 3 types of feelings that are coming up. I don't want to come back. I don't want to work. I'm afraid to come back. I don't want to be there. I'm also don't want to go back because I'm very comfortable where I am right now. I like it. I'm making money just by being at home and not doing much. So I don't want, I'm confused about going back. I don't feel safe. But then there is the staff that says, I can't wait to work. Just give me something to do because I just need to work. Those the reaction part. The common sense is different there. The common doing is different there. So as a salon owners, and I obviously, as you know, I coach and I train a lot of salon owners, a lot of business owners, and they're frustrated. They're frustrated with what they have to, the responsibility they have on their shoulder. What do they do? How do they react? How do they make that be common and safe? And so that's coming out loud. So the questions that I hear is, what do I do with my staff that doesn't feel comfortable to come back? I don't know how to work with this. Some of the staff members has already left. How do I feel? What do I do with it? If there's a lot of negative thoughts that comes behind it, a lot of negative feelings, frustration, abandons, rejections. What do we do?
So I took some notes. I'm going to try to
You're so
answer
good at that.
these. What's that?
You're so good at the notes.
Well, I just want to respond. So here's what I have is how do we respond to the feelings, especially as it relates to monetarily and to our health? And as an owner, how do you manage having this responsibility, accountability to have the answers? And what about reacting versus responding? So I'm going to try and answer all of them, and you just let me know how close I come. I want to share this with you. And as we talk, I have no judgment here. I am only here to help. One of the dynamics that we may, not that civilization hasn't experienced this, because we may not in our generation, our lifetime, is that we're managing financial decisions, health decisions, and then freedom decisions. And more often than not, I'm going to have to give up one to get the other. And so as you're listening, I just want you to know that I am aware of that. And anything I share with you, those are filters that are going through my mind. Now, I want to respond to some of the things you talked about, the Japanese culture and how they are so adept at communicating that they care and their connection, and they don't hug and they don't kiss. And if you talk about the beauty industry specifically, one of the things that's heavily weighed the outcome in our favor with our experience is that we're one of 6 professions that it's legal to touch someone. And so we've been able to hug people and we've been able to shake their hand, to give them a kiss and rub their back. From a physiological standpoint, I want you to know this is that when you touch someone, there's a chemical that's released in your body called oxytocin. And if you're a mother on the line, you have firsthand experience because this is the chemical that's released when a mother breastfeeds a child. So if you're still with me, oxytocin. Studies have shown the higher the level of oxytocin within a person, the higher the level of trust with the person that triggered it. And so you bring up an excellent point because as we go back, the world's changed. Our mission has not changed. The mission is the same, is to make people feel good. We know through making them look better, we can make them feel good. And so you have to look at what made people feel good. And it was a combination within our industry. And part of it was this dynamic of hugging and touching. And so you do need to know now, or at least explore this with your team. How do we replicate that? Now, the other dynamic that you have going against you is you now have a mask. So you can't tell if I'm smiling and what's going on.
Right.
So you're off to a flying stop now. You really are. So for that dynamic, I would put it at the top of your list because people are not going to care as much about their cut and color. That's not what, if they're upset now, it's not going to be about that. It's going to focus more on the way they feel. And so it's going to be imperative that your tonality, your inflection, your hands, I say, Ronit, it is so good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And you can hear my verbiage, my terminology, my tonality, my inflection, my body language. So I do want to speak to that because I don't hear a lot of conversation. It is one of the top 10 questions that does come up. No one's talking about, but people are thinking about it. So the second thing that you'd reference is about feelings. And I just want to share with you guys what's important more than ever is that you acknowledge people's feelings. So if they say, I'm scared, tell them, I know, I hear that. And it's not a time for us. And this is where I say we're not here to judge, we're here to help, because some of us, not intentionally, our intentions are good, are saying, well, you don't need to be afraid of that. And you don't need to worry about that. That is the equivalent of putting gasoline on a fire when you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the very first thing I would encourage you to do is to say, I know, I hear that. It has been tough. Now, one of the little nuanced differences in this, but the brain picks it up, is we have a tendency to say, hey, we're all going through this together. Now more than ever, this is about them. It's not about you. And there's if you ever get a chance, I'll just mention it quickly. I love the book. The guy's name is Chris Voss. He's the lead FBI hostage negotiator. He brought emotional intelligence to hostage negotiations. And the book's called Never Split the Difference. In the book, when he talks about human communication, he said one of the things that you don't want to do is to say, we're in this together. He said it's the quicksand theory. The person who's in the quicksand does not want to be helped by the person who's in the quicksand. So I'll give you a few seconds to take that in.
I love
If
that.
there's
Say that again. Can you repeat it?
Sure. The person who's in the quicksand does not want to be helped by the person who's in the quicksand. So just get a visual on this. If you're in quicksand and you're sinking, that person who's in the quicksand is not going to be the ideal candidate to help you. The ideal candidate is somebody who's on the outside. Now, they're not going to negate it that you're in the quicksand. And so it's imperative with your clients that as they share things with you, they don't say, me too. We're in this together. Now more than ever, it's important to acknowledge what's going on for them. And so this, what happens is that it gives the person, when the brain, it engages the rational brain, which releases some serotonin in their body that relaxes them. And so when you talk about feelings, because here's the dynamic, Ronit, is that not only are you going to have to manage your client's emotions, you got to manage your emotions. And if you're a mom or a dad, you're going to have to manage your kids' emotions and your spouse's emotions. And then if you're an owner or a manager, you got to manage your people's emotions. The people who will thrive now, the skill set that will allow you to thrive, because there is an option to thrive through this. I'm not mitigating anything. I'm just saying there is an option to thrive, will be for the people that have a high emotional intelligence, meaning they have the ability to identify and understand an emotion in themselves, whether it's fear, anxiety over health, medicine, whatever the case may be, and others, and then adjust their behavior
I
accordingly.
love I love that. I love that you speak into the high emotional intelligence. And I actually want to even dig a little bit more into it, because I think right now it's the most important understanding that we need to do. It's the thought, it's not intellectuality, guys. It's the higher intelligence of your own emotional being. It is you, it is your being. So when Jay says there is no judgment here, there is no judgment here. And opinion is good. There's nothing wrong with opinion as long as it's not a judgment. It is your own self connection. It is your own attachment to your higher understanding of the process of your thoughts and your feelings that is going to bring you to create the right action. So you're not spending time on reacting and then fixing it afterwards. So just like what Jay said, and I want to offer something, is that if you can just think about it and really process your emotions of how you're longing to hug and how you're longing to kiss and how you just want to caress everybody. I think the number thing as being a stylist, as being an owner, as being a leader, is really taking the time to be more compassionate. What do you think, Jay?
I tell this story. It's a favorite of mine. I don't know if it's an appropriate time to tell stories, but I will. This church had been around for 96 years. They had no neighbors to the left or to the right. And one day for sale sign goes up, the exact same day a sold sign. So one of the members of the church goes down to the township to find out who their new neighbors are so they can welcome them. And they say, oh, it's a strip club. So if you're late to the story, there's a church and there's a strip club, if you're still with me. And so one of the members' thinking was is around judgment, is that that's immoral and that's wrong. And the emotions were anger and resentment. And the behavior was to get together people who would picket and petition. There's another member of the church that heard what was going on. Their thinking was, I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to help. And so they got a group of people that would get together at midnight, 3 nights a week, and they would cook for 2 hours, and they'd make eggs and bacon and pancakes to serve those unserved people. And so I share it with you because I just want you to think just for a moment with me, what was the difference between the picketing and the pancakes? It was the thinking. One
Yeah.
thought they were there to judge. The other thought they were there to help. And so I share that with you because studies, you said something very interesting about the awareness of your mental state. Studies in science have validated that if you can identify an emotion that you're feeling, you're 80% more likely to do something about it. And so we're traditionally, people say, well, I don't want to go into the emotional side, it's a business side. I just want to shift your thinking around where it's important to understand someone's emotion. So I'll give you an example in the salons now, and you articulated as one of the things that you brought up was, I have a fear that it's not safe at my salon. And so, one of the things as a leader that you can do to shift their thinking is to give them context, to differentiate between fear and facts. And so, fear is a feeling, facts has data attached to it. So, with the brain, what you want to do to provide this calm to get them out of the emotional brain is to ask the brain a question. And the question you would ask when someone has a fear is, what are the things that you are comfortable with? What is not fearful to you? What do you know to be true about the situation? And it's interesting, as I've worked with stylists, things come up, they go, well, I trust my owner. Very interesting, right? Because as a leader, I think that's imperative. But if you're going to go into battle, however you define this, you want a leader you can trust. And they trust their intentions, they trust their integrity, they trust their capabilities, they trust their results. And
Yeah.
then I'll ask, well, what else do you trust? They said, well, I saw them buy gowns. I saw them buy disposable gowns. I saw them get a phone sanitizer. But what I'm doing to introducing into their thinking is new and different information so that they'll at least give some weight to the facts versus the feelings. So I'll stop there. How close did I come
No, this
to
is really
answering?
good. It's going back to lying in the quicksand with who do you want to get help by? Do you want to get help by a person that is sinking with you, or do you want to get help with somebody who's outside and reaching your hand to you? And I think that it's great because that brings me into my next question, Jay. Is we're talking about communication, and I think that's the most important right now. It's to bring it's like we were talking about being uncertain, and now we're certain. We got a lot more certainty that we had before. And so as going back, whether you're a stylist, whether you're an owner, whether you're any kind of a business owner, being successful in my eyes is not surviving, is not coasting, is about thriving in the situation, right? So in order to be there, I would think that predictability is something that we bring confidence. And so what can I do to bring certainty so I can predict, right? And I'm thinking about what are the things that people are worried about right now, and they're really worried about thinking what's going to happen if somebody is not wanting to come back to work. What's going to happen if I don't have all my staff in? What's going to happen if I can only open slowly? What's going to happen, in this environment? I mean, I hear about a lot about, am I going to make the same amount of money? Should I be selling retail? Should I increase my prices? And there's a lot of those questions. Should we think about asking different questions, Jay?
Well, the questions are good. Here's what I want you to understand, and you guys can make the determination for yourself. Here's something that's really brilliant about the brain. And if you understand this and how to leverage it, it can help you with everything. When I ask you a question, if I ask Bill a question, or I ask Lisa a question, or I ask Frank a question, I asked Mia a question. So I asked Mia, how long have you been cutting hair? And I asked Bill, what type of leadership training have you had? And I said to Frank, how long have you lived in Chicago? And I said to Lisa, how many kids do you have? Your brain can't help but answer those questions. Take note of that. That gives you control because you can now control the conversation and the dialogue through asking questions. And so you ask questions, what if I don't make the same money? What if I can't predict the future? Here's another question you can ask your brain is what can I control? What can I predict? Because your focus will become so disproportionate on what you can't predict and you can't control, you will not allocate any time to what you can predict and what you can control. So the way that you do it is you begin to ask yourself, what can I predict? One of the things that you've alluded to throughout the conversation is about reacting. And people go, well, if I don't react, what do I do? Well, you can respond. So if you're taking notes, you can choose, and this is a choice, to react versus respond. And if you're saying, well, what's the difference between the two? When you react, there is no time lapse, and it's what you say. When you respond, there is a pause followed by a question. So again, react, no time lapse, and it's what you say. Respond, you pause, and you ask a question. So if a client comes in, they go, you know what, I can't believe that you can't get me in sooner, and I can't believe you can't do both of my service, and I can't believe that you're not going to blow dry and shampoo my hair. A reaction maybe is, hey, we're doing the best we can. We're trying to be fair to everybody, and you got to realize we can only have 25% of the. Do you see where you're going? You're defending and explaining.
Yeah.
When you respond, you pause. And you say to them, it sounds like both are really important to you. If I could do one now, and I could schedule the next one right now, which one would you want to have first? It's the difference between responding and reacting. And if you don't mind me just going off on a little bit of a related topic, is that there's something called the social comparison theory in psychology. And this is the way it functions. When people don't know how to react, they look towards the highest ranking individual in that situation. And so that's why there's so much pressure on a political figure like a president, because if the public's uncertain and can't trust, they will look for the highest ranking individual and how they respond. And at some level, that person could realize that and begin to portray a certain situation. But if that didn't resonate with you, how many of you have been on a plane, you experienced a little bit of turbulence, and you heard this? Hi, we're experiencing a little bit of turbulence. If you put your tray in an upright position, we'll be suspending the drink service and the movie momentarily. Thank you. And what do? Like, oh, okay.
No
Now
big
listen,
deal. Yeah.
of all times, fear should kick in and rule. You're 30,000 feet in the air, and you're in an apparatus that weighs several tons. But yet, because of the social comparison theory, now we've all been in a situation where the turbulence got worse. And who got on the intercom? Hi, this is your captain. We're experiencing a little bit of turbulence. We'll be moving from 30,000 feet to 40,000 feet. And at which point we will resume our movie and our drink service. Thank you for flying American Airlines. Now, in theory, your fear should kick in because now you're 10,000 feet further in the air. But because of the social comparison theory, we don't know how to react. We look for the highest ranking person. If it's okay with them, it's okay with us. So when you interact with your clients, when you interact with your employees, I want you to shift your thinking that it heavily relies on how you show up for them will influence in return how they show up for you. Now, will there be exceptions? Absolutely, there will be. What I'm saying is, how do you heavily weight the outcome in your favor that you can predict the responses that you are going to get? And if you want to change a situation, it starts with you. The change in you will yield a change in other people. Not everybody. However, a majority of the people, it will. So it's imperative that you begin to respond versus react, and you model the when you guys have to raise your prices, and I don't know how much time we have. I definitely have thoughts on that.
No, keep going. We're going to spend a little bit more time because we came out a little bit later, and this is so profound. Okay. We're really going into the actual specifics, which I love that. And I love your captain's analysis. I would fly with you, and you can fly with me, and I would be sitting there, and I'll say, I'm okay. I'm okay because you just informed me that this is what's going on. We're okay. This is what we're going to do. We're okay. We're going to make it fine. Just sit tight. You gave me an information. You gave me something that I was wondering about and I didn't know. And so you gave me an information. Now my response to it is not a reaction. My response to it is like, I'm okay. Because I have authority here that told me this is what we're doing and we're okay.
Yeah, Bill articulated it well. He said it's about trust. And where there's predictability, there's trust. And that's why, if you're wondering, why don't people trust me? It's a lack of predictability. So, as a leader, as many things as you can predict or make predictable for them, I would. So, as an example, I would communicate with people on a frequency, a scheduled frequency, every 2 days, every 3 days, every 6 days, whatever it is. They're looking for predictability. And so, you had made you'd asked about being a leader and the pressure that you feel with decisions. I do want to share this with you if you're a leader. And again, I don't mean by title, I just mean that you're walking in direction, you look behind you and there's people there.
Right.
Is that you do not need to have all of the answers. That is not your function as a leader. Your function as a leader is to have a vision. So what Ronit just articulated is that, listen, this is going to be okay. And there's going to be a time where we have a scenario where we aren't focused on all the compliance issues and we can double down on our client experience. And there's going to be a time where you will get back to what your earning potential. And the reality is, because the number of salons, statistically, they're showing, economists at 50%, that we're going to have more clients. And your people are going to go, when is that going to happen? And how are we going to do that? And it's okay to say, I don't know. But what I do know is I need each one of you to get there. So let's start that conversation. What are your thoughts on what we can do to navigate through this? I just want you to differentiate between the two. You have to have the vision and describe this place that maybe they haven't been and make it so compelling that they want to go there. And to Bill's point, there has to be a high level of trust that you can take them there.
Yeah.
And be comfortable with, I don't know how we're going to get there. And I don't know when it's going to be. And I don't know all the answers.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to be hold on true to yourself. That's the one thing that came to my mind when you say when you were speaking about the analysis of the captain. It's the most important thing. I think it's also to be true to your beliefs and to trust as a leader. And when you said about titles, I'm with you. You can be a mother, you can be a father. That's a leader. You might have children, you might have friends that look up to you. You might have staff that looks up to you, or colleagues that looks up to you. You don't have to have the answers like you say, Jay, because I think I think that if you're holding a true to yourself as a person and trust yourself first, don't you think, Jay? If you trust yourself first and not listening, because you said something that I thought was brilliant. You said there's just so much information coming our way now. There's an authority here that says you to do this. There's an authority here that tells you to do that. There's an authority there to do that. But if you can create your own predictability and create that on a piece of paper, on a plan, and have your facts, and have every information that you can have, and stick to your gut feeling with all the information that you have, and make your choices and make your thinking, then you will be maybe shifting how you can predict the next few weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say this. Let me take some pressure off of you guys. I only plan the next 30 to 35 days. That's the only way that I talk. Now, when I started off, I said the next 90 days because I had some indications that I could safely do that. But things are only permanent until they change. That's my philosophy now. So, you talk about confidence, that it's the difference between pivoting and persevering. I mean, persevering requires some confidence to keep going, even though everybody says you shouldn't. But to your point, whether your gut, they refer to your gut as the second brain in your body. It's how you physically manifest what you're thinking or feeling. And so if historically there's things that you know to be true, there are people who operate off of their gut. They're operating off this, here's what I historically know to be true. So I'd encourage you to persevere. There will be times as a leader where now if confidence is about perseverance, then humility is about pivoting, where, hey, you know what, we're going to make a change. And that's okay. I highly encourage people, even stylists, when they're doing their consultation, hey, let's talk about the next 30, 35 days. When you're talking to your people about their scheduling, to say, hey, how flexible can you be over the next 30, 35 days? Because we're making so many life decisions. One of the things I think that's taking a toll on this is this term, the new normal. And what it implies is this is the way things are going to be forever going forward. And who wants to make that decision today? It's the equivalent if you're in high school is, are you going to go to college? Oh, what college are you going to? What are you going to major in? Then what are you going to get a job in? And are you going to date? Oh, and then you're going to get married. And then when are you going to have kids? How many kids are you going to have? You're going to buy a house? You're going to rent? And it's just overwhelming. And I think you're sensing that from people. So one of the things that you can do is to shorten the time frame, be comfortable pivoting and persevering. And then to Ronit's point, give yourself a little bit of predictability. I can more readily predict what's going to happen in the next 14 to 28 days, easier than I can predict what's going to happen in the next 90 days or 4 months.
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally with you. So if I had to take everything we've learned today, and I know you're going to laugh about that. By the way, you guys, look at Jay. Do you think he looks like Howie or The Rock? Because
Did you say The Rock? I
no,
take The Rock, Vin Diesel, Pitbull. I would take, yes.
totally Pitbull. Yes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Howie. I love that.
Oh, that does it for you. Okay, then Howie Mandel. Yes.
Yeah, because Howie is so funny, and you're so funny, and you got that great aura in you, And I just always think the two of you together, So.
From your mouth to God's ears. I'm looking
Oh,
for
yeah.
an alternate source of income. If it's comedy, I'm open.
Well, talking about a couple of those things, I kind of want to recap. If I could take maybe 3 or 4 tips and give all of us 4 good tips about how to, the word motivation is not what I'm looking for, but how to inspire our staff, how to inspire ourselves, how to inspire our guests to come back and stop calling it the new norm. But how about we can call it, hey, we're just gonna be who we always are. Everything is fine. It's okay, and this is why. What are the 4 tips that you think will be really great to help with those decisions?
To recap, I'd say this. First of all, the world's changed, the mission hasn't. And it's imperative that you share that with your clients and that you share that with your employees. The mission is still the same, is to make people feel better. So revisit your mission statement, and it needs to be your mantra. And if it's too long or you don't think it's applicable to you, you can borrow this one. We're in the business of making people feel good. Make sure that you're making your employees feel, first of all, make sure you're making yourself feel good. There's so much pressure. I saw something the other day. If you haven't written a book, if you haven't started a new business, if you haven't gotten in shape, then you've wasted this time. I have a little different feeling. You know what? If you get through this on the other side, however
That becomes a judgment
happens,
to me. Yeah.
it is a judgment. I just want to show how it shifts your thinking. So
Yeah.
I would say stay the course with the mission. The second thing is you're here to help, not to judge. And there's so many things to judge, whether they stay on unemployment or they come back to work for you. You could judge whether someone wears a mask, whether they don't. There's so many things to judge. Just ask yourself, how can I help? The third thing is
I
questions,
love that.
questions, questions, and questions. When somebody says, well, I can make more money on unemployment, not to judge them, to ask them questions and to help with their thinking. So tell them, listen, it sounds like making money is important to you. How long do you think being on unemployment that you can make more money than you would make as a stylist? I would ask them, and listen, you guys all know it's Arizona that's 244 and New Mexico that's seven something, whatever it is, but add $600. They're talking about June 30th. So I would ask them, I wouldn't judge them, is that, when June 30th comes about and there's no longer that $600 and you revert back to the $300 or the $400, what are your thoughts about what it will look like when you get back behind the chair as it relates to your clients? They'll go, I don't know what you mean. Well, do you think your clients are going to wait and just forego their services till you get back? Do you think they're going to go to another stylist, another salon? What do you think is going to happen to your foundation? Almost everyone that I've asked that question has acknowledged they would lose people. I would say, thinking back to when you're building your book of business, I hear that's the least favorite time for a stylist. How was that for you? They go, oh my God, I hated that. So I said, just based on where we are in the conversation now, what would be an ideal scenario that maybe check the box for you now and check the box in the future so that this was a sustainable career? So what I would say to you is questions. Everything that you want to say, asking a question. They say, I don't feel safe coming back. Then I would simply ask them, is that what would give you a comfort level in coming back? You guys can throw any of these things. They said, I don't think that we should incorporate an increase in our pricing based on COVID. I'll tell you guys, this is hopefully a funny story. I've got a chance to work with so many salons. So I said, let's talk about the COVID. I said, do you agree that there is a cost associated with it? Again, I asked them a question. Everybody agrees. They see what the owner's purchasing. I said, oh, what do you think that is per person? Do you think it's $1? Nobody thinks it's $1. I said $3. Nobody thinks it's $3. Everybody thinks it's between $7 and $15. I said, okay. So you guys see maybe 1,000 people a month. So there's a $7,000 tab there. They're like, yeah. I said, do you think your client should pay? And most of them say, no.
Yeah.
I said, do you think you should pay? They say, no. I said, well, who's left in the equation to pay? They haven't thought about it. I said, it's only your owner who's left. None of them feel as though the owner should pay. I said, tell me what is making you think the client should pay? They said, it's not their fault. So I said, if it's not your fault, you shouldn't have to pay. They said, yes. I go, well, it's not your owner's fault and they're paying. Yeah. It's interesting, through asking questions, I help them discover what they already know. And it's the difference between asking and telling, and how they, when they come to a conclusion. And with salon after salon, and I would offer it to anyone who's listening, we do this via Zoom, go through this conversation. 100% of them have said that we should charge.
Yes.
Because they know that if I'm going to do less services, then my owner is going to make less money. If they're going to have higher expenses, there's not sustainability for the clients or me or them. So I just want to show you, those are three things. I want to respect the time piece, but I wouldn't judge. I would ask questions. Absolutely. Whatever you want to say, put it in a question.
It's so important to ask the right questions. I'm totally with you. They're very powerful. It's a powerful tool to find out what's the real feeling behind it. What's the real thought behind it? What's the thinking about it? And as Jay would say, my gift will be new thinking, different thinking, and deeper thinking. Because with that, you can have a deeper meaning and a deeper results and predictability. And predictability is key. Speaking about those prices, and I kind of want to just kind of come out back to and finish almost, because we are at 9:16. I could speak to you for another 2 hours, as you know. And it's always such a pleasure to do it with you, Jay. You're so incredible. You got so much knowledge.
You're kind. Thank you.
Pricing. I really want to encourage you guys. You know my opinion about pricing. You all have heard me so many times. These times, your client cares about the essentials, about being with you, about being in the warm and loving environment that they're so used to come to you. They are more than happy to support you. This is the time that you need to realize that you have a value, that you give a value, that you're worth a value. And that value is also profitability. It's not about just giving love. It's also understanding that you are doing business, and this is a business. I want you to be good to yourself and not work more than 8 hours, 9 hours a day with having a mask on your face, breathing into it over and over again, not earning what you need to earn. So, see, you don't want to work for 12 hours if you can work 8 hours and be good to yourself, correct? So that's what the thinking that I want you to think about that. And if you think like that, what would be your answer? What would be your answer? And then what would be your next action? Jay, where can we find more of you? I know you mentioned you have a specific program that you work. I know that if you go to your website, you can download all your books digitally or copy. And right now, I think there's one download that you can download that is free. Isn't that correct? And we're going to have all the...
I don't do anything for free, so that you know. Complimentary and pro bono are my new words. It helps with my thinking and my emotions. I have negative emotions about free. Yeah, if you guys want to know more or you want more, you can go to my website, which is jaywilliamsco.com. So it's jwilliamsco.com.
Yeah.
And it's J Williams Co for Facebook and for Instagram. I know it seems narcissistic, but someone told me just pick one name.
Yeah.
If you go to the store and you click down on there, you will see some t-shirts in the books in there. I just want you to know that anybody, because people ask about purchasing that, and I'd love you to do it. 100% of the profits go towards stopping human trafficking, 100%. So I happen to live in an area that 6 years ago, it was shared with me as a corridor. I just want to tell you some of the good, important work very, very quickly. There's a gentleman, Matthew Fairfax, that's in Seattle, and he started something called justiceandsoul.org. Take a look at it. Great program. So I thought that the human trafficking was really just in third world countries. That's why I was surprised. However, it is in third world countries as well. And he's gone to Cambodia and opened up a school. And the people who teach are stylists like yourself that volunteer to go over for a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year at a time. And so I got a little note card for him. And I think we're 4 years, into doing this on a monthly basis through the purchasing of the books and the t-shirts. And I got a little note card, and they said that, you know what, we had to close the school because of the virus. They said Cambodia doesn't have unemployment, but based on our contributions, we've been able to continue to pay the instructors and the stylists that otherwise wouldn't have any income. And so I just want to share with you is that you are making a difference, and there's great things. So you can go to the website there. If you choose to use electronic download, either the audio, and if you don't like my voice, don't do that one. There's an ebook, and you put in the code, leave your mark for the next 24 hours. You can download the electronic version, the book or the audio at no charge to you. And you are more than welcome to pass it on to your teams or anyone else that you would like for 24 hours. So that's what the leave the mark is, that code when you put it in your basket and you go to pay for it.
I love that. If I can also use that knowledge and may suggest to all of you guys, if you do download it, and you should, because it's awesome. If you do download it, it's such a great topic to sit down and do almost like an ice-breaking exercise with your staff. If you download it and you actually read it and you do, continuation staff, meaning talking about emotions, talking about intelligent thinking and provoking thoughts and thinking with your staff, that will be a great way to navigate the emotions, the confidence, the trust through the next few weeks, right? So I highly recommend it. It's a great way to start communicating. And Scott, to your question, why do think leaders lead naturally? Why do you think leaders lead naturally? I was trying to kind of understand that question. But if I think that is the question, and I don't want to assume anything, I think that would be a great exercise, Scott, to do, is to download that book and use that as a great leader's navigations. And I'm going to use it with Salon Cadence members. Maybe I'll have Jay join me on that one. So I love you guys. Jay.
Yes.
This
Yes.
has been so amazing. This has been
you're
so
kind.
amazing. I think we're going to do a great something special about coaching and mentoring.
Love to.
Right? Because we were talking about it the other day. We were talking how important it is for everybody to think about working with a coach, working with a mentor, and the differences between different styles of mentoring, different styles of coaching. What are consultants? What are coaches' jobs? And how you can work with one and how to choose to work with one that fits you. Because there's no way in the world I would be where I am today with successes and failures without working constantly with therapists, with coaches, with consultants. Jay, are you in? We're doing it?
Yeah, I'm in. And what I would say is that two things. If you want to know the difference between consulting, counseling, coaching, and mentoring, I would not miss this call. One is not better than the other. This will just help you to identify which is best for the situation and when you are doing it. And so if you have the opportunity as a leader, and I think of Bill's question, I just answer, or Scott, here's what I would say is that what studies have shown and have validated is that there is a belief are leaders born or made. There is more data to support the leader is made because emotional intelligence, your IQ is fixed from 15 to 50. Emotional intelligence, and the studies have shown that 70% of the time, a person with a higher emotional intelligence outperforms their counterpart with a higher IQ. That goes towards leadership. And so that's validated that you can grow leaders. And so I don't want to contradict your thinking. I just want to add to the thinking that there are skills that you can learn that make you a proficient leader that people may not be born with, so to speak. They may have some physical attributes about them because people have power bases for different reasons. So it's a great question. Join us for that conversation.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking about what does it take to become great leaders. And when I say to become, that's what we mean. It's becoming. It is not something we were born with. It's as Jay would just explain. It's something that we work on constantly, you know. And I think what will be really nice is to explore that. And if Jay agrees to do a really good conversation about that, which makes me so happy because I can't get enough. Look at the time; it's almost an hour and a half into it.
Wow!
I know. I told you we can be here forever.
I want them to trust us. Let's stop so that they trust us that we're going to do what we say we're going to do.
Right. All right, I'm with you, Jay.
Thank you
guys,
so much.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Zoe, the brilliant Zoe Spiger, will be here, and she's going to be teaching us and talking about why is it so great to have a podcast and how to use a podcast for your own brand. So we're going to learn a lot about podcasting. We're going to learn a lot about branding, digital content, and everything you always think to yourself, should I or shouldn't do it? That will be next Wednesday. I'm so excited. Our mutual friend, Jay. See you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Love you guys. See you soon.